I always love our intro. Welcome, family. Welcome to Financial Freedom. I am your host, Derek Brown. I'll be your accompaniment on this journey. Welcome to Hope TV. We started off on March 19th, 2020, and we went from 1 to 35 different programs and over 10 million views because of support like yours. So let me start off by simply saying thank you. Thank you for the support that you've already given us. And as I mentioned that, I'm asking for a little bit more. So if you can, just make sure you share this with about 5 or 10 people. And not just the link, but we're available on various social media outlets under at the Hope TV, all caps, one word. And I just want to say thank you again. Tonight on Financial Freedom, we have a topic that talks about a little bit of personal transformation as it contributes to financial freedom, but also the idea of debt and home ownership and how it affects us, especially among various different groups of Americans who are looking for a way to use a house as an asset. Tonight, we have a special guest who is well versed in the topic and ready to go. Joelle Terranova. She was with us in our last episode. She's going to be with us in this one too. She's a part of the 100 Millionaire Mothers, the CEO and creator of Get House Ready, Terranova Luxury Realty Group, and now she speaks. She has literally been a speaker on an international scale. She's been to Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, Senegal, Gambia, and Greece, and held the stage and captivated audiences. This woman is a powerhouse, and I'm so happy that she's here again with us tonight on this episode. She made a little bit of extra time for me to come on and have a good discussion. So welcome, y'all. Welcome to tonight's episode of Financial Freedom. Joelle, thank you for being with us. Give me a little bit more time tonight. I'm so happy about
Oh, thank you so much. This is such an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here again. Again, you wrote a book called Escape Routes: How I Escaped My Miserable Life. That is still a strong title for me. I said this last episode and I say it now. It's a very, very strong title. Um, I want to talk about this idea um, of debt. Right now, we're in the midst of COVID. We're dealing with people who are potentially losing their homes and having to deal with different forms of debt. Um, do you think that's something that is systemic for African Americans or Black people, or is debt just a part of the American dream that we may have conceived wrongly or haven't been appropriately taught about?
I love that question. My personal opinion is it's very systemic, and I'll tell you why.
Mm,
If you just think about your family, the conversations that you may have had with your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, most of us will be able to look back and see that money were things that we really didn't talk about. They were hush
okay.
hush. It wasn't really discussed, amongst the family. When you had Christmas dinner, you weren't talking about how much money was in the bank. You weren't talking about what investments you were excited about
Right,
getting involved in. It's just not something that we as people of color are used to having those conversations. Now, I'm not saying it hasn't
right,
happened in certain families, but on a large scale, absolutely not. It didn't happen in my family. It didn't happen while I was going to school. It wasn't a conversation that was
right,
had even in the schools. And so that teaches a child that these are things we don't talk about. And so we
right,
got busy not having the conversation because that's grown up business, that's adult business. But when we look at our, Caucasian colleagues, they have the
hmm,
conversation. Kids have their bank accounts early. They have their credit cards. They have their trust funds. They have
right.
investments before they even graduate from high school. They're conversations that they're used to having and they're easy. For us, those conversations are not so easy.
Right. That's a good point. So let me ask this. In this current generation, it seems like people, especially young people, are much more willing to engage money. Everybody's all about getting the bag, right? People are trying to get that bank. It seems like people are much more willing, in some way, fashion, or form, to find some education about money or to look for various ways to get money. You commented last episode on when you get educated or when you're trying to educate yourself about money, there should be something that kind of goes off in your head that says, hey, this ain't right. When we're searching, what are some things that you can talk to us about when we're trying to eliminate debt, when we're trying to get our finances right? What are some keys or what are some avenues that you could suggest to us that we should look at first when it comes to resolving debt or getting help resolving debt?
Oh, great question. So I always say that for us, it's not hard for us to get money. We all have a hustle. We even pride ourselves on having a hustle mentality. But where the problem lies is are we getting educated on how to keep it? How to
Right.
keep it? And
You
are
know
we
how to
as
spend it.
excited about keeping it as we are about making it? Right? And so that's a
Right.
mindset change because we might be excited to make it and even more excited to spend it. But if you start to think about future goals and what it is that you're looking to achieve, then you have to start getting excited about keeping it. And that's where you have to have a mindset change. I had to have a mindset change, especially. And so that's where a different type of education came in on how do I keep it? How do I invest it? That word, investing, is such a scary word for people. Where does the fear come in? Fear comes from lack of education, right? When you
Right.
understand
Right.
something and it's made clear to you, then that fear all of a sudden dissipates. But sometimes we're so afraid of the topic that we won't even get the education on it. So here
Mm.
again is something that's very, very important that we educate ourselves on keeping it. And so there's some investments, and scary enough as it might sound, there are some debts that may be wise for you to consider in order to learn how to keep it and hold on to it. And I think that that's key on understanding those two things.
Okay. What should we consider? Because you brought this up now. What should we consider when coming to keeping it and holding on to
Well, one of the things that was really fun for me is when I really, really started to understand on a deeper level home ownership. And can I tell you,
it? Okay.
Derek, the epiphany that I had, that
Please
it
do.
hit me like a ton of bricks. And this is what I tell
Okay.
people. I don't need you to trust me. Trust you. If what I'm saying is the truth and you believe that, then go ahead and trust that. Let
Okay.
me ask you this, Derek. We're on the planet Earth, right?
Right.
Now, the planet Earth is never going to get more land than what's currently there. The land isn't, we're not all of a sudden going to become a bigger planet. We're not going to become a smaller planet if we believe that things are going to stay consistent. Now, we're in 2020 and all kind of craziness is happening. But based
Yeah,
on what
yeah,
we
exactly.
know,
We don't know what's going to happen in June, July. I mean, at this point, I'm waiting to be invaded by aliens. I have no idea what else is coming in June, July.
no. But when I heard somebody say that the earth that we're on, the planet that we're on, is never going to get any more land. And because of that, the value of land will always appreciate. It will never depreciate, right? Now,
Mm.
certain buildings that are put on land, those can depreciate if you notice a
Right.
shift in the housing market, but the land that it sits on will
Right.
always appreciate and value. So when you look at whoever in your mind are some of the top three wealthiest people on the planet, ask yourself, do they all own real estate? I bet you that the answer is going to be yes. So then
Hold on. Let me
my
ask you
question,
this.
okay,
Wait, you got a question? Go ahead. Ask your question. I'm gonna ask my question.
okay. So then my question back would be, do you? And if the answer is no, then why not?
Okay. Now, my question is a spinoff of that question. And it simply says, Joelle, you're talking about these highfalutin millionaire dudes. They way up here. I ain't got. I can't afford to buy land. I'm already in debt. How am I supposed to leverage this debt and invest in stocks, bonds, land, whatever? What am I gonna do with this debt? Because this debt ain't going nowhere. It's definitely here. I'm waiting for the Armageddon so it erases all the Saudi made systems. So what
Absolutely.
do I do?
Absolutely.
What do I do with this debt, Joelle?
So this is what I say. There's two things. Think of it. Everybody had a great grandma, great great granny who had a little piece of land. Everybody's
Okay.
family, somebody, one of our ancestors, they found a way to get a little piece of land because they knew that it was a wise investment. So we want to eliminate I can't from your language because
Okay.
I guarantee someone from your past did, and that's in your DNA. Now,
Okay.
when we look at what is needed in order to own land or property, what do we really need? Well, number
Break it
one, one
down.
of the number one things that we need is income, right? And so I look at people who are willing to pay rent,
Right.
thousands of dollars in rent to make someone else wealthy. But why wouldn't you take that same money and literally put it in the walls of your own home so that now when you are have a pandemic like we have, or you may not have your job like a lot of people are in a situation right now you can pull cash out the walls of your own home to sustain your family. So you have to understand what these walls do, what they can
Okay.
produce in times of dire need.
Let me ask you this. I got a friend speaking in my ear right now. I can hear him talking to me. I can hear him saying, "Okay, Joelle, you're saying I shouldn't rent. I should buy a house, right? Is that what I hear you saying?" I hear him
Absolutely.
saying to me, I hear him saying to me, "Okay, I hear that. But in this apartment, I ain't got to worry about landscaping. I don't have to worry about an ornery neighbor moving in across the street or next door to me and decreasing my property value. I don't have to worry about excessive bills or repairing the roof. I don't have to worry about some type of land developer coming near me and having to fight about my land because she's trying to build something I don't want near my house." What are the pros and the cons? How would you answer him first? How would you answer him um, as far as considering an asset a house? I would also hear him even saying, "Man, a house is only an asset if it's not taking money out of your pocket. A house is going to do that. How is that an asset, Joelle?"
Beautiful question, and there's two answers to that. First one that I would
Okay.
say to your friend is then you're always going to be subject to the whims of your landlord. You're always going to have held over your head. This does not belong to you. So while you may have a year to year or a month to month agreement, that can be snatched under you at any point in time. Also, when
Mm-hmm.
you own a home, there's a lot of things that people don't understand. One of the things that I do as a realtor is I always make sure that my clients have something called a home warranty. It's not home insurance,
Okay.
it's a warranty. So, what does that mean?
Okay.
If the heater goes bad in my house, I call the home warranty.
Mhm.
They send somebody out and they look at it, fix it. If it can't be fixed, then it's totally replaced, and maybe I have a $50 deductible that I have to pay. There's certain things that we can do that once we're educated, we realize home ownership need not be hard, but home ownership is the beginning of wealth. So if a person is looking to just get by in life and not really build up wealth for future generations, then please, by all means, and zero shade, keep renting. For me personally, I set up a life that 4 generations after I die can continue to live and they don't even have to touch anything. They just keep getting checks. I want when I pass away for my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, and after that to be talking about great great grandma Terra Nova. They're not going to talk about great great grandma Terra Nova if she ain't left them nothing behind, if she didn't leave a legacy behind. And so that's what my goal is. And so if you're goal oriented like that, then you have to understand how to start building wealth. And that does start with real estate.
Okay. Okay. I hear that. I hear that. So let's get back to this idea of assets and liabilities because we kind of brought that up a little earlier as well. Um, this you said that the home is the center of building generational wealth. Is that
Absolutely.
home,
It's
and
one of
I'm thinking now from a very basic level, is that home the moment you move into it, is it automatically an asset, or do you have to create an asset within it?
Great question. So it all depends on the home that you choose, and it also depends on the contract negotiation and the mortgage. So let me give you an example. Really, really fun deal that we were able to create for a brand new homeowner. She was only in her 20s, found a beautiful house. The seller was super eager to sell the house, right? And she got a
Hmm.
loan that was a FHA loan, and a FHA loan is a government-based loan. But this
Okay.
FHA loan had a modification on it. So that one is called a 203K loan. And what that loan
Mm.
allowed her to do was get extra cash to kind of fix up the home, right? So she bought this home. The seller's eager to sell. They really like sold it at a very, very low rate. Needed some fix up, about 50 grand worth of fix up. She got the money lent to her. And when
Hmm.
she moved in, the day that she signed the contract, that house was worth $100,000 more than what she paid for it. So
Wow.
instantly she had value. Now, does that happen all the time? No. $100,000 is a landfall. That was huge. So 30 days later,
Yeah.
she was able to get what we call a HELOC loan, which gave her $100,000 line of credit that she could use at any point in time or not use it, whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
now she has money to play with if it comes to investments. One of the best ways to build wealth is just like the Rockefellers. You know what the Rockefellers did? They created their own
Right.
bank. And what they did was
Mhm.
they bought up insurance policies that built this huge cash value. So anytime their kids needed money, they just borrowed from the insurance policies. But all of that started with real estate. And so
Right.
in instances like hers, total windfall. There's others that have seen 50, 30, $20,000. And there's others that when they bought their home, the level of equity was just enough that they could continue to get loans so that they could purchase more real estate. Now, what did they do
Okay,
then?
hold on one second.
Then
Hold on one second now. You
no,
busting out
no,
all
no,
these
no,
terms. I ain't even gonna pretend like I know what all of them mean. Hold a
I
minute.
got you. I
Um,
got you.
so line of credit. Is a line of credit the same thing as debt or something like akin to credit card debt? Is that the same thing?
Right. So when you get a HELOC, those letters HELOC, they stand for Home Equity Line of Credit. So what it is usually you get a credit card and it is backed by the value of your home. So if your home has $10,000 worth of value, then a lot of times that little credit card has $10,000 worth of purchasing power. Now, if you use that card, of course, whatever you use, you're going to have to pay back just like you would any other credit card. But one of the
Mhm.
things that I teach people is how to use that if they ever find themselves in a time of financial distress, how to utilize that without getting sunk into debt. But if you didn't have a
Mhm.
home, then you don't have leverage to be able to save yourself or build wealth. See, if you're in your landlord's house, the house that you're paying for the landlord is utilizing that to save himself and his family.
Right. Right. True indeed. True indeed. So when it comes to that, are there certain types of debt? Because we're talking about mortgages, we're talking about lines of credit, we're talking about being able to purchase land. Are there certain types of debt that are actually good debt for us? Even when it comes to home ownership, are there certain types of debt that we should let hang out and not necessarily pay it off as soon as we can, or should we let them linger? Is there a different kind of good and bad debt when it comes to home ownership?
There absolutely, in my opinion, is good and bad debt. And where that all stems from is not just from my personal opinion, but the thing that makes this America that we know go round is that of credit. And each of us
Mm,
have three
gotcha,
digit scores that either
gotcha.
imprison you or make you free. You know, I had a really good friend, single mom, not too long ago. She had to buy a car, was able to get a brand new 2020 SUV. When they looked at her credit, she was close to 850. They didn't even check her income, Derek. They
Beautiful.
didn't even check her income.
Beautiful.
They told her, pick whatever you want. She had no down payment and was only going to be
Right.
paying 2% interest, drove off that day. That's freedom.
Right.
That's
It
freedom, right?
is.
And so one of the pieces of the pie, because there's 5 pieces of the pie that make up that credit score, but one of the pieces of the pie ask this question: what is your credit mix? So, and that
Mm.
actually accounts for a good piece of the pie that makes up your credit score. So when it looks at your
Never heard of
credit
that
mix, it
before.
actually makes up 30% of that pie, which is
Okay.
192 points of that credit score. What it looks at
Okay.
is, Joelle, do you have revolving credit, which would be like credit cards? Do you have a
Okay.
mortgage line of credit? Do you have any bank credit? Because when that algorithm or that language sees that you're responsible with this different mix, what the FICO score says to other lenders is, give her money. She's good.
Mm.
She knows how to manage things. And so when we need a car, when we need a house, when we need to put the kid in college, we're not going to have any problems. I always said I'll never ever say no to my son because I don't have the money. I always tell my friends, when he
Mm.
wants the brand new Jordan tennis shoes, I'm going to send them over to you because I'm not paying for them. But when it comes to the big ticket items like schooling or if he wants to
Amen.
travel,
Amen.
yeah, it's always going to be a yes because we have the means and the money to be able to do that. That is true financial freedom when you're able to unlock that level of money and be able to provide for your family. You definitely want to have a nice credit mix, and it need not be a lot, but a nice credit mix is going to make that score super strong.
Okay. Okay. On our last episode, we talked about this idea of a journey that you went on, that you wrote about in your book, Escape Routes: How I Changed My Miserable Life. Available on Amazon, by the way. Um, it's did your credit score begin to move as you began to set and focus? Because it seems like at one point you made a decision to invest in these ways. Um, was there ever a point where you feel like if I wait too much longer, it'll be a point of no return? Because I realized that in talking to some people about finances and money, getting houses, looking at loans, going over the information that you just poured out so richly, that their idea might be, I'm too old for certain things. It's too late for me to come along now and try and get these things. When it comes to wealth building and home ownership, um, is there a point where is there a such thing as like I waited too long, so now I have to do something horribly different?
I swear you must be sitting in my office and I don't know it to hear the conversations that I have with my clients because that's what some of them thought and that's what kept them away. I hear so many people say, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, and my friends beyond me have gotten a house, they've been successful, and they hesitate because they feel they waited too long. But that's when those negative thoughts in your mind start talking to you. And I tell my clients, please tell those negative thoughts to go somewhere and be quiet. um, our clients, when we're able to help shift them to where they need to be, usually within 90 days, they're house shopping, they are feeling good about themselves, they're making
Wow.
decisions, they're being educated. In fact, one of the things that we do with our clients, not only do we help them get their credit where it needs to be, a lot of people think, well, in order to buy a home, I need at least 20 grand in the bank. I barely have $500. They don't even
Right.
realize that we can get them money so that they have the down payment they need, and it's money that they don't have to pay back. It's grant money.
Oh,
They can use it toward any home that they choose. There's nothing cramping them into a certain neighborhood or a certain style of home.
right.
Any house that they choose,
Right.
they can use that money. And another thing that holds people back sometimes is student loans. Their student loans are so big
Right.
they don't even realize that we can totally deflate those student loans, make them go bye bye, so that they can go ahead and get the house, get that pre approval, that clear to close, meaning you got the house, here are your keys. And so, again, that's where education is key. One of the
Right.
things that I do with
Right.
my clients is I created an ebook talking about how to give your kid a perfect 850 score at graduation.
Mhm.
My son is 5 years old and he has a 700 plus credit score already. Now he doesn't know about it. And I
Of
tell
it,
everybody he's not
right.
getting his social security number until he's 30 years old and married with 2 kids. Then I'll let him know what his social is. But, being able to set people up now and them being able to pass that information on to their children means so much to me because in my case, I realized, Joelle, you have to understand this. And I literally, in a 30-day period, got, for lack of a better term, Derek, obsessed with my own credit. And when I
Right.
realized that I had the power to change some major things around, I had things on my personal credit, like I had a tax lien I didn't know about. And I was
Wow.
really afraid, but I picked up the phone and called the IRS and realized I could get rid of it like that, even though I hadn't paid the lien. I later paid it, but I was able to get it removed from my credit fairly quickly. So
Hold on. Tell me what a
within
lien
30,
is and how'd
okay,
you get it
so,
removed?
oh, great question. So what had happened was, um, during my marriage, there was a tax bill that we had, and I had no idea about it. And, I have to just blame my own ignorance for that. And so that debt wasn't paid to the IRS. So what happened was, of course, the IRS is never going to go away, you all. You can bury your head in the sand, but they don't go away. And so
Don't
what
doubt
they
my
did
dreams.
was they
Don't doubt my dreams.
what they did was they put a personal lien against me, meaning that any property or asset I had or owned, the IRS had dibs on it. They could take it from me. So whether it was my car, my paycheck, a home, I didn't realize that this even existed until I went to purchase my first home. And so, how I
Wow.
actually got rid of it was I made a phone call. And I'll never ever forget this gentleman. There's actually a lien department inside the IRS,
Okay.
and I was as scared as a mouse. And I called him and I told him who I was and I told him my situation. And I said, I really need to be able to purchase a home and I don't understand how to get rid of this lien. Now, that was back in 2008. And during that year, the government offered, I believe it was either six or $8,000 first time homeowner credit. And I told
I
him, if
remember
you
that.
could just remove this lien for me, because I believe the lien was about 6,000. As soon as I close
Mm.
on the house, I will pay it. And I'll never ever forget his words to me. He said, Joelle, he said, I don't know why I'm inclined to do this for you, but I'm going to remove the lien and I'm going to trust that you're going to pay it. And as soon as I got the money, I paid it. I even called him to let him know. And can you believe, Derek, when I called him, he didn't even remember who I was. So, you don't know until you're willing to pick up the phone and ask. And that's something that we do for our clients because sometimes people just get so faint out of fear that they're even afraid
Right.
to advocate for themselves and they just need somebody to advocate for them.
Definitely. I realized even myself when I was trying to resolve a lot of debts on my credit report that when they were calling me, I was to a certain degree shrinking. Like I'm don't tend to be a timid guy, but for some reason I was shrinking when they called me. Because they're very assertive, right? They're very
Oh,
assertive.
they are
They're
they're trained
very,
assassins.
yeah, like they're gonna take you down a road. And I realized very quickly um, that when I began to become more assertive and take more initiative when it came to resolving issues on my credit report, that I felt much more empowered. I felt much more in the front seat. So when I called them, I called them with a little bit of authority, and the conversation went differently. Um, what would you tell people who constantly are plagued by certain kinds of financial fears? It dawns on me very much so that a lot of our stagnation is related to I don't want to fail financially. I don't want to put all my money behind a house or a piece of land and then have a natural disaster happen, or some, God forbid, something happens and my house is torn down or catches on fire or something like that. Let me ask it like this. It might be a little better. What are the top three fears you hear from people that you're counseling, and what information or advice would you give to our viewers?
Oh, thank you. That's another great question. I'm loving this interview. So, one of the fears that I hear people say all the time is, I don't want to get my situation fixed because I feel like in a couple years it's going to be messed up again. I don't want to fix my
Mm,
credit or get those numbers right because a year from now it's going to be messed up. And so then all my effort is for nothing. My response to
right.
that particular fear is this: as sure as God made little green apples, something will pop up on your credit again. It must
Right.
happen. Stop being afraid of it and start confronting it, because the more you confront something, then you're no longer afraid of it. Freedom and fear cannot reside in the same house. So you got to pick one. We're
Mm,
either going to be afraid or we're going to be free. So pick which side
right.
bench you want to be on, and let's get busy being that. That's why one of the things that we offer our client is something called credit assurance. Because just like they're trained assassins, I'm a trained assassin
Mm,
too. And so when our clients are with us, not only do we fix their credit, but we make sure that it stays good for a lifetime. So they don't have to worry about that. Educate yourself on the things that are out there that can help you. Second thing that I hear that is a huge issue on the fear list is, I'm too busy.
right.
I'm not going to have the time to do
Mm,
this. I
okay.
understand
Okay.
being busy. That's why you have to align yourself with the right people that can help you, that can make you or be a
Mm,
part of your team. So, one of the things that I love to tell my clients is this: I love to be your gentle GPS. I can steer you and show you where to go. But just like your GPS sometimes says turn left, you might decide to go straight. That's okay. We might have to go
right.
straight to get
Right.
to the destination, but you're going to have to take control of your finances, because if not, those trained assassins, like you said, they're bullies. They are going to take
Yeah.
control of you. One thing
Right.
is, I tell people in any relationship, somebody has to dominate and somebody has to be submissive.
Mm,
You two people aren't just going to sit there. Somebody's going to lead you. So you're going to allow your finances, or those that are in financial institutions, to lead you in your finances, or you're going to be the one that takes control of them. And then the last thing that, if I were to pick a top three, the third one is, people then all of a sudden get afraid of credit. One of the worst things that I see people do is maybe they'll finally pay off a credit card and then they close the card, because now they don't ever want to deal with credit ever again because they don't know
Isn't it a
how. And
traumatic
I'm like, oh my
experience?
God, that is credit score suicide. Don't do that. Like, at least keep them open. You don't have to use them so much, but keep them open. But people will just totally shut down. I'm afraid of credit. I'm afraid of bill collectors, and I don't want to deal with it. You just have to understand how to utilize it properly. You'll be fine.
Wow. Those are big things. I mean, you said it like it was nothing, but taking that time to learn, to educate yourself, to put a plan in action, to stick to the plan, to not be afraid of credit, to be assertive, to make sure that we're aggressively taking control of our finances is no small task. But those are all great tips. So thank you for that. Thank you for being with us
Absolutely.
tonight. It has been awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Family,
I appreciate that.
yo, this is, yeah, definitely. And you know what? I have a couple ideas on the docket that I'm looking at right now that I wrote down while we were talking. So hopefully later on in the season you'll be able to come back with us and talk a little bit more.
Awesome. I'm happy to do that. And anybody that needs any help, I'm happy to review everything for you, give you some ideas. If you just go to learnmore.gethouseready.com, I and my entire team are available to you. I'm excited to help.
Joelle, where can we find you online? I think you have a couple of other projects you're working on too. I think you have a luxury realty business, and then you also have Now She Speaks, and then you also contribute to the 100 Millionaire Mothers. Uh, where can we tap into you there?
You can find our business page at 100 Millionaire Mothers on Facebook. When it comes to Get House Ready, we're on Facebook as well as Get House Ready, or the website gethouseready.com. So happy to be able to entertain anybody there that may need any help. Terra Nova Luxury Realty Group, incidentally, is a realty group, because you'll be surprised that most people that have credit issues are actually millionaires, you all. Like, people that buy $1 and $2 million plus
Oh, we
homes
don't have to
have
discuss
huge
that.
credit issues. So,
We gotta talk about how that works. Not tonight, but
it's
we
just
gonna talk about it.
it's just the truth. So that's where Terra Nova Luxury Realty Group was born. And so yeah, you can find me in any of those places. And again, I'm very, very happy to help.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being with me tonight and for being with our viewers as well.
Absolutely. It's my privilege. Thank you so, so very much. I had a great time.
Definitely, definitely. Well, family, that's been our time tonight. Thank you for joining us on Financial Freedom, and I can't wait to see you again. We're going to come up with some good topics for you. I promise it's on the way. Other than that, family, thank you for being here on Hope TV. Again, you can find us on multiple avenues of social media at The Hope TV. And again, thank you for being with us. Be safe out there, family.